I knew something was wrong the second I saw my 6-year-old granddaughter, Lily, walk into my own birthday cookout with her head shaved smooth as an egg and my daughter-in-law laughing like it was a party trick. The afternoon sun hit that tiny scalp and showed a red line right above her ear where the clippers must have skipped. My son Tyler stood behind them carrying a potato salad and a look I hadn't seen since he was 13 and lying about a broken window. Brooke, my daughter-in-law, called it a brave new look. She winked, lifted Lily's chin for everyone to see, and said, "Isn't she fierce?" Everyone clapped like it was a dance recital. I didn't, because Lily didn't smile. She touched the stubble on the back of her head and looked at the hydrangea bush like she wanted to hide in it. Quick pause, subscribe, hit like, and drop your city in the comments so I can say hi next time. That Sunday in late May, after church, the yard smelled like charcoal and my cast iron skillet was still warm from the cornbread I'd baked before service. I had folding tables covered in blue-checked cloth, mason jars of daisies, a lemon cake cooling on the counter, and a tin of old receipts next to the back door where I keep everything that matters. Warranties, pay stubs, my late husband's social security letters. I turned 66 that day. I wanted hymns and iced tea. I got a shock that set in my chest like a stone. "Come see, Nana," Lily said in a voice too careful for a 6-year-old. She had a pink knit cap in her hands like a security blanket. She put it on, tugged it down, then looked at Brooke for approval. "Her choice," Brooke said, eyebrows high like daring me to disagree. "She's been obsessed with those kids who shave for charity, plus, the heat." "In May?" I asked. Brooke laughed and shrugged, then drifted over to where my quilting friends were dishing up baked beans. Tyler kissed my cheek, too lightly, and whispered, "Mom, don't start." "I haven't said a thing," I told him, and I hadn't. All I did was watch Lily and count the moment she reached for that beanie. When we sang Happy Birthday and my church alto section harmonized on the second verse like we always do, Lily kept her cap on. When the kids ran through the sprinkler, she didn't. She sat on the step with her knees tucked, tracing little circles on the concrete. I sat beside her with a towel. "You cold, Bug?" I asked. "Want you to warm your hands?" She nodded. Her fingers were damp and so small. "Mommy says my hair had to go," she said matter-of-factly. "Why's that?" I kept my tone easy. You learn that from raising boys and singing in the choir. Hold a note steady and people will meet you there. "She said people don't listen unless you show them," Lily replied, eyes on the ants working under the welcome mat. "And I'm brave." She glanced up like she'd repeated a line she was supposed to memorize. I knew that line. I'd heard versions of it at charity drives, spaghetti dinners in church basements. Once when our neighbor Kayla made a fuss to get out of HOA fines for her broken fence by claiming she was taking in a sick cousin. People sometimes make their problems bigger to make themselves feel bigger than the rest of us. But making a child a signboard? That was a different kind of wrong. After cake, when folks started to go, my quilting friend Paula, retired school nurse, took my arm. "Marlene," she murmured. I go by Marlene, though my grandkids call me Nana. "Did you see the little ring above Lily's ear?" "I did." "Uniform," she said. "That's not alopecia. That's a number 2 guard." My chest tightened. "Alopecia?" I repeated, because Paula's a gentle woman. She doesn't pick a fight without a reason. Paula pulled out her phone. "I follow Brooke on Instagram because she posts those lunchbox pictures. Look." She handed me the screen. There it was, a photo posted that morning. Lily in my driveway, beanie on, captioned, "Our brave girl is fighting a rare immune condition. If you feel led, here's our GoFundMe, #BraveLily, Mama Bear, Akron Strong." I felt the cornbread rise in my throat. Rare immune condition? Fighting? I baked for that child's class 2 weeks ago. No fevers, no fatigue, just a loose tooth and a new interest in drawing horses. "Paula," I said carefully, "did you see the date?" "Today," she said, 9:15 a.m. My stomach dropped. We were in church at 9:15. Lily was in my pew, flipping through the hymnal, the way she always does. The only time she left was to use the restroom. I thought of Brooke stepping out before the sermon, phone in her hand, saying she needed to check in with a brand partner. I thought of the pink beanie Brooke pulled from her tote bag when they walked into the yard. Tyler came up then with leftover containers. "Mom, we should take some chicken home," he said, too bright. He looked at Paula's phone and then at me. "It's not what you think." What do I think? I asked. The truth is, I didn't know yet. I only knew the steady feeling I get when it's time to leave a choir rehearsal. Something inside insisting I needed to be somewhere else, doing the next right thing. When everyone finally left and the last dish was washed and placed on the drying rack, I went to the hall closet and took down my old accordion file, the one with the little paper labels, house, car, medical, church, misc. I added a tab, Lily. Then I took screenshots of every post Brooke had made that week. I printed them at the Walgreens up by State Road. My receipt says 8:22 p.m. I tucked it behind the Instagram printouts. I'm old school that way. Paper in hand makes me braver. That night, I called Tyler. He answered on the second ring, whispering like a teenager hiding under blankets, "Mom, it's late. Did a doctor tell you your child has an immune condition?" I asked, steady voice, careful words. "Brooke says it's alopecia areata, autoimmune. She joined a Facebook group. Did a doctor tell you?" He sighed. "We're going to Akron Children's on Tuesday to consult. Her hair was falling out in clumps, Mom. Tyler, I saw Lily Tuesday. She had pigtails." I paused. "And even if you were shaving to get ahead of it, which I've heard some do, it wouldn't be uniform, and you don't post a fundraiser before you have a diagnosis."
"It's just to help with..." He stopped. "Mom, please, don't make this a thing. Brooke will... She's just sensitive right now." Sensitive or calculating? I didn't say it. I clenched my teeth until my jaw ached, said goodnight, and went to bed with the lights on in the kitchen. Years ago, after my husband died, I learned that I sleep better if the house hums a little. The fridge fan, the clock ticking, the nightlight in the hallway, it all tells me I'm still here, still responsible, still watching. Monday morning, I stopped by Lily's school to drop off the PTA fundraiser envelopes. Mrs. Reeves, the school secretary, knows me by name because I barter my pecan bars for extra copy paper. "How's our birthday girl?" she asked. I told her fine. Then I asked, as gently as I could, if Lily had a new medical note on file. Mrs. Reeves' smile fell a little. "We did receive a letter from a Dr. T. Sonder at Akron Children's Clinic Oncology, saying Lily would be wearing hats to manage chemo-related hair loss and asking for flexible attendance." She glanced at me, apologetic. "You're on the emergency contact list, Marlene." "Can I see the letter?" I asked. "I won't take anything. I just need to understand." She hesitated, then slid a copy photo across the counter. "It came in this morning." The letterhead looked like someone's idea of what a hospital letter should look like. The logo was off, more clip art than clinic. The font was Comic Sans, bless it. Akron Children's Hospital is what the facility's called. And I knew that because I'd once spent a long night there with my neighbor's grandson when his asthma flared. This said Akron Children's Clinic. And oncology for a 6-year-old who was running around my backyard less than 24 hours earlier? The letter was stamped with a notary seal from a UPS store on Merriman Road. Dated Sunday, time 2:17 p.m. "Sunday?" I said, half to myself. "UPS is closed on Sunday." Mrs. Reeves winced. "We were concerned. We'll follow whatever the counselor says. I just thought you should know." I folded the copy, slid it into my tote behind the PTA envelopes, and thanked her. In the parking lot, I took a breath that felt like the first real oxygen I'd had since the cookout. When the facts pile up, you don't argue with people. You line them up and let them speak. I drove straight to the UPS store after lunch anyway, in case they kept odd hours I didn't know about. Door locked. Hours posted. Monday through Saturday. I snapped a photo. At home, I went online to the Ohio Secretary of State notary search. The notary named on the stamp, C. Danvers, popped up with a license number and the note, "Commission expired last year." I printed that too. I called the store the next morning. The manager, a man named Greg, answered on the second ring. I introduced myself and kept it general. Do you have a notary named C. Danvers? Used to. She moved to Dayton. Her commission expired, we haven't renewed. Why? I have a letter stamped on Sunday with her seal. He was quiet a long moment. We're never open Sundays, he said finally. Email me a photo. I'll forward it to corporate and the Secretary of State. That's not okay. I emailed him from my desktop, where I still use a mouse with a cord. I CC'd myself and printed the sent email. Then I called Paula. Come by, I said. Bring your nurse eyes. She came with a lemon loaf and a pen with glitter in it that Lily likes to borrow. We sat at my dining table where I quilt and pay bills. I rolled through what I had. The Instagram post with timestamps, the fake-looking letter, the UPS hours, the notary search, my notes from the school. Paula pursed her lips. If this was my student, she said, I'd call Summit County Children's Services. Haircutting as a punishment is on the list. Using a child for deceptive fundraising. She stopped herself. We should be careful what we label, but we should act. We will, I said. I wrote it on my pad. Call SCCS. Then I made another list. Tyler's bank? No, I can't see his statements. But I can see where the money goes if I donate. I took my debit card out of my wallet, the one with the Scotty dogs on it, and went to the link from Brooke's bio. The page was a glossy wall of words. Help our brave Lily fight. The organizer was Brookland Media LLC. There it was, plain as the scorch mark on my old ironing board. I donated $25. The confirmation email arrived within a minute. Description line, Brookland Media LLC, donation. Not Lily's medical fund, not charity. I printed it and tucked it behind the notary search. Then, because I am my father's daughter, and he always said, if you think a thing is off, check the clock, I made a timeline. Sunday, Brooke posts at 9:15 a.m. about a rare immune condition. Later, at 2:17 p.m., a notary stamp appears on a letter claiming chemo and flexible attendance. But at 2:17 p.m., Brooke's sister Tessa was live on Facebook from an open house in Stowe, flipping the camera to show Brooke clinking a soda can with her and saying, "Baldies unite," and laughing. I only know that because Tessa is a realtor-influencer hybrid who narrates everything, and my neighbor Gladys watches her for the home tours and texts me the outrageous parts. Watch this, Gladys said when I came over with a plate of leftover chicken. She rewound on her flat screen. There they were in matching graphic tees. The timestamp reads 2:15 to 2:29 p.m., and at 2:22 p.m., Brooke said, "We're heading to my mom's to swim after." At the exact time the fake notary stamp said they were provoking officiality, they were panning a marble kitchen island and saying, "Manifest, babes." Watch to the end. I'll show the truth. I recorded that part with my phone. Ohio is a one-party consent state for recordings you make when you're part of the interaction, but this was a public Facebook Live. I didn't need consent to save it. I labeled the video and saved it to a USB drive I keep in a ceramic sugar jar. Then, I took a breath and called Summit County Children's Services.
I won't tell you the exact questions they asked or the boxes I checked. I'll tell you this. The woman on the line sounded tired and kind. She asked for the facts. I gave the facts. She said, "We'll follow up." That evening, the mail brought a glossy postcard from Helping Smiles Foundation, thanking donors for supporting children's oncology families. It bragged about a partnership with Brookland Media. There was a watermark of a ribbon in the background and a Georgia address that a quick search showed was a co-working space. The letter was notarized with the same C. Danvers stamp. I set it on the table and stared until the kettle boiled dry and the smoke alarm chirped. Then I put new batteries in the alarm and brewed a fresh pot, because life goes on, and you still need tea even when your heart is racing. Tuesday afternoon, Tyler texted, Appointment went fine. Nothing else. I didn't push. I put on my shoes and drove to the school for pickup. Lily saw me and ran. She didn't wear the cap. The sun caught her scalp again. "Nana, guess what?" she said, breathless. "Mommy said if we hit the goal, we can get a puppy." "What goal?" I asked, light, curious. "The number on her phone," she said. "She checks it a lot." When Brooke saw me, her smile was stiff. "Boundaries, Marlene," she said under her breath. "You don't get to interrogate my child." "I'm her grandmother," I said gently. "I get to ask how she's doing. How are you doing?" She rolled her eyes. "We're fine. People are being so generous. Finally, after years of me pouring out, it's coming back. That's how the universe works." I wanted to say, "The universe's ledger isn't kept by Venmo." Instead, I said, "I saw the letter you gave the school." "Good," she said. "Maybe they'll stop calling about tardies. How many tiger moms get latitude, but when I ask for compassion?" "Brooke," I said. "Akron Children's Hospital is spelled exactly like that, not clinic, and they don't use Comic Sans, and the notary stamp is from a store that's closed Sundays." Her jaw tightened. "You always think you're the only adult in the room," she hissed. "You raised a son who can't stand up to his mother." I let that pass. There are only so many fights a person can afford in a week. If Lily is sick, we rally. You know that. This family shows up. If she's not, this has to stop. Get out of my business, or I'll cut you off. From where? Church? The classroom? The yard, where I've taught her to deadhead petunias? I smiled, soft, almost pitying, because that's what my mother did when someone tried to push her off the path. She's ours. We're hers. You don't get to fence a child. That night, I put everything in a binder with tabs. Timeline, social posts, notary, school, donation receipt. USPS certified mail receipts, because I'd sent Brooke and Tyler a letter via certified mail stating my concerns calmly and noting that I'd reported suspected fraud to the Ohio Attorney General Consumer Protection Section. The green card came back with Brooke's hurried signature. I slid it into the sleeve. The binder felt heavy in my hands, like something that could hold a family steady. Wednesday, the Ohio AG office emailed me a reference number. Thursday, Summit County Children's Services called to schedule a home visit with Tyler. I didn't tell him first. I let the professionals do their job. Friday morning, when I was frying bacon in my old cast iron skillet and listening to the news, there was a knock. Brooke stood on my porch with her phone raised like a weapon. "You reported us," she said. Camera on, live. "Everyone, this is my husband's mother trying to destroy our family." I put the bacon on a plate, set another pan on the burner to keep it warm, and opened the door. "Come in. Eat." She blinked. Her audience, I imagined, was waiting for fireworks. "I'm not hungry." "Tyler's favorite," I said, gesturing at the bacon. "He'll be here in 10 minutes. I'd texted him earlier. Come by. Need to talk." She lowered the phone. Just a hair. "You're jealous. People care about us now. We're visible." At that moment, Tyler's truck pulled up. He came in looking like the sad version of himself, the one who hadn't slept but still tried to crack a joke. "Mom, what you do?" he asked, but his eyes slid to Lily's tabbed binder on the table. I saved things, so the adults can be adults. I'd poured coffee into mugs I'd bought at the church rummage sale. Chipped, but sturdy. "Sit." Brooke swiped at her cheeks. "She called the government," she said to Tyler, spitting the word like a sour grape. "She's trying to take our kids." "I called because of the letter," I said, sliding the photocopy toward him. "Because of the social posts before a diagnosis. Because of the money going to a limited liability company that also pays for sponsored content." He stared at the paper. "This says clinic," he murmured.
brow furrowed. Isn't it hospital? Brooke's mouth tightened. It's a template. Everyone uses templates. Not for oncology. Not for first-grade attendance. We argued then. Not loud, not cruel, but like people trying to stay on a sinking boat, tossing sentences like bucketfuls of water into the air. Brooke said brand. I said child. Tyler said intention. I said effect. Finally, Brooke picked up her phone, turned the camera back on, and laughed with a line about toxic elders. I watched her taillights disappear, and then turned back to the stove to keep the bacon from burning. Keep the small things steady, the big things will wobble less. That afternoon, a notification popped up. Funds pause notice. The platform had temporarily restricted Brooke's fundraiser, pending verification. I didn't cheer. I sat very still and folded Lily's favorite quilt, the one with the pink gingham border and cat fabrics pieced in little windows, over the back of the couch. Then I called my church friend Gladys and asked her to come over Saturday at noon. She asked, "What for?"
"I'd like to go to Tess's next open house," I said. "I want to see something with my own eyes." Saturday, we drove to a cul-de-sac in Stowe, where Tessa's signs lined the sidewalk like flags. She greeted us with a laugh and a flyer. "Granite, new roof, light, bright, airy," she sang. Gladys, God bless her, wandered toward the kitchen island, where a stack of Helping Smiles Foundation postcards sat next to a lucite stand with a QR code that said, "Donate to Lily's Journey. Money at an open house." Tessa's voice carried over the white noise of attendees. "We shaved her again this morning to keep the look," she told a group of women near the pantry. "Oh, you should have seen the comments. People are angels." I pulled out my phone and hit record. I wasn't hiding. If I'm in a room, I'm in a room. Tessa saw me and turned her smile brittle. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "Are you the person who arranged this fundraiser?" "We're collaborating," she said, hand on hip. "Marketing is my specialty." "Who notarized your partnership letter?" She blinked. "A notary place. On a Sunday." "Why are you harassing us, ma'am?" "Because I'm Lily's grandmother," I said, voice calm as a hymn. "And because I think you're using her." A man in a tight polo with a name tag that read Dane came out of the home office then and slid a hand around Tessa's waist. "Everything okay, babe?" "Fine," she said. "We don't owe you anything," she told me, but her eyes darted to the lucite QR stand. Dane scooped it up and tucked it in a kitchen drawer. I kept recording. The moment she said, "We shaved her again this morning to keep the look," felt like a door closing and opening. That night, I sat at the table and placed the new video in the binder. I added Tessa's flyer, the QR picture, and a quick note. Open house, Stowe, noon, June 3rd. Gladys present. I listed the names of the women who'd been near the pantry, as best as I could recall. Not to punish, but to be thorough. I've been told that my thoroughness is a control thing. Maybe. It's also how I survive. Monday morning at 8:40 a.m., someone knocked at my door. I opened it, and a woman with a Summit County Children's Services badge stood there with a folder. "Miss Hutchins, I'm here about Lily." I invited her in, set the kettle to boil, and took the binder off the shelf. My hands didn't shake. I've carried babies and coffins and my own dear husband through chemo. I can carry this. The investigator's name was Erica, and she had the matter-of-fact kindness of someone who has listened to many stories and still believed in the power of paper. She sat at my dining table while the kettle hummed and asked me to walk her through the timeline. I showed her each tab, each printout, each scribbled note. I didn't speculate, I didn't accuse. I told her exactly what I'd seen, what I'd heard, and when. When I got to the part about the letter to Lily's school, Erica leaned forward. "Our office will request records directly," she said. "We'll also talk to the pediatrician." "I know you can't tell me anything," I said, because I've done this dance before. My neighbor Kayla's nephew years ago when things went sideways and I brought casseroles and kept my mouth shut. I only want you to see the pattern. She nodded. You did the right thing. She scribbled on her pad. We'll follow up with the parents today. After Erica left, I put the kettle back on and cleaned the stovetop because scrubbing helps me wait. The phone rang at noon. It was Tyler. He said, "They came to the house. Brooke is furious." "How are you?" I asked. He was quiet a moment. "The woman, Erica, asked Lily who cut her hair. Lily said, 'Mommy.' Brooke said it was at a salon. Erica asked which one. Brooke couldn't remember the name. Then she asked Lily when she started to feel sick, and Lily said when the comments got mean." I closed my eyes. "Ty," I said softly, "I didn't know about the notary or the QR codes at Tessa's open house. Dad would hate me for this." "Your father would ask what you're going to do next, and then he'd stand there while you did it." That afternoon, the fundraiser page went offline. A message popped up on Brooke's Instagram stories. "Haters reported us. Thanks for hurting a child." She posted a photo of Lily in bed with a knitted quilt pulled up to her chin. Except the blanket was the one I made, the cat window quilt, and that bed was my guest room. The chest of drawers in the background had my father's dented brass handles. I stared at the screen and then at the hallway where the guest room door sat ajar. No Lily, just sunlight on the quilt edge. She'd staged it. She had the key. I'd given it to Tyler when we got our first winter storm so he could bring the kids over to sled without waiting on me. Trust handed over in a small brass circle. I called Tyler. "Change the locks," I said, soft but firm. "Tonight." "I will. Mom, Erica asked if we'd be willing to do a safety plan for a week. She wants Brooke to stay at her mom's house while they sort it out. She asked if we could stay with you." Yes. And in that one word, all the cornbread and nightlights and church alto practice met their purpose. "Come by after dinner. I'll make up the beds." They came with one suitcase and 2 backpacks. Lily carried her stuffed rabbit by the ear. My grandson Max had that brave boy look, chin tilted up. Tyler looked older than 34. I made chicken and dumplings because it fills the house with the smell that says you have time. While they ate, the doorbell rang. Erica, again, with a paper for Tyler to sign. The safety plan spelled out that the children would be with him at my house. Brooke could have supervised visits at the park or the library, no posting images of the children online. Tyler signed. His hand shook in the middle of his last name. Brooke texted Tyler a storm of messages. He read them with a pinched mouth and set the phone face down. "I'm going to sleep on the couch," he said, after baths and books and lights out. "I'll take the pull-out, Mom."
"You'll take the guest room," I said, tucking the quilt under Lily's chin the way I did for my boys before I knew I'd miss it. We're not martyrs in this house. The next morning, after pancakes, I opened my email to find a message from the GoFundMe Trust and Safety team confirming a review. They asked me to send what I had. I sent the binder index, the screenshots of Tessa's open house, the donor postcard with the suspicious notary, the UPS store manager's email, and my donation receipt showing the LLC in the descriptor. I closed the laptop and went to the garden, where the hydrangeas needed deadheading and the dirt under my nails reminded me that life grows in messes. By Thursday, the fundraiser showed a banner, "Under Review." By Friday, donors were posting in Brooke's comments, "I got a refund notice. Where is my tax receipt? Why does my credit card say Brookland Media?" Brooke posted a black square with the caption about spiritual warfare. Tessa stopped going live. The QR stands disappeared from the open houses. The Helping Smiles Foundation website went under construction. Saturday morning, a certified letter arrived addressed to Brooke at my house. Mail forwarding isn't magic. I put it aside. That afternoon, Tyler took the kids to the library for their supervised visit with Brooke. They met at the big table near the fish tank where everyone could see and no one could escalate. I sent them with a bag of clementines and hand wipes. An hour later, they were back. Lily tugged on my elbow. "Mommy said I made her sad," she whispered, guilty like a child who broke a crayon. I kissed the top of her head. "Adults are responsible for their own feelings," I said. "Your job is to be 6. On Monday, the Ohio AG office called me. A man named Mr. Tolson from Consumer Protection thanked me for the documentation and asked if I'd be willing to provide a statement if needed. I said yes and prayed we'd never get that far. But something in his voice, vaguely satisfied, told me new gears were turning. 2 days later, a plain white envelope appeared in Tyler's mailbox, labeled with blue painter's tape as Hutchins, temporary, on my front porch. Inside was a notice from the platform. Funds dispersed to beneficiaries are frozen pending investigation. Donors may receive automatic refunds. Another letter, addressed to Brooke at her mother's address, said, "Please provide medical documentation from an accredited facility." I did not see that letter, but Brooke told Tyler loudly in my driveway as she handed off Max's hoodie. She said, "They want documentation." She air-coded like it's a conspiracy. "Keep watching, there will be justice." On Thursday, Erica returned with another paper. She said, "We'd like to extend the safety plan for 2 more weeks while we complete interviews." Tyler signed without a tremor. Lily showed Erica her drawing of a horse with wings. "What's this one's name?" Erica asked. "Truth," Lily said. I had to turn away and pretend to rearrange the pill organizer on the counter so I wouldn't spill tears into everyone's coffee. Friday the locksmith came. We changed the locks on my house and on Tyler's. The bill was $45 for each, and I put the receipts in my tin, adding a sticky note, "Keep." We were done with keys used as weapons. Saturday, the church ladies came for quilting. We worked at my dining table while Lily ripped threads with a little plastic seam ripper, and Max built a fort out of couch cushions with Pastor June's grandson. Paula brought a casserole. Gladys brought the kind of cream puffs that make you close your eyes on the first bite. We talked about the weather, the hydrangeas, the choir's upcoming anthem, and then, gently, about Lily. "You did right," Gladys said, touching my forearm. "I've seen this. People wake up one day and realize they're in a story they didn't intend to write. Thank God for editors." She meant me. On Monday morning, Tyler met Brooke at the courthouse for a hearing. Not a big one, just a status conference in domestic relations about temporary orders because she'd filed a motion demanding that the children be returned to the marital home that day. She arrived with Tessa and a man in a tight polo I recognized even under a sports coat, Dane. They sat on the right. Tyler sat on the left with the duty attorney the clerk arranged, a woman named Miss Kramer who smelled faintly of peppermint tea and competence. The magistrate asked questions. "Where is the child receiving treatment?" Brooke mentioned a clinic. The magistrate said, "Name?" She hesitated. The magistrate looked at Miss Kramer. Miss Kramer said, "We request the court consider a temporary order placing the children with father pending proof of diagnosis. There are concerns regarding online fundraising." She handed the magistrate copies of my binder tabs that Tyler had supplied that morning. The magistrate read for longer than I thought a person with a full docket would read. Then he looked at Brooke. "Do not post the children on social media pending the next hearing," he said. "Bring medical documentation from Akron Children's Hospital, not a clinic, and not a letter with a notary stamp from a store closed on Sundays." When Tyler came home, he sat at my kitchen table and put his head in his hands. He said, "Mom," and then he didn't say anything else for a long time. I put a glass of water near his elbow and waited. When he looked up, he was my boy again, the one who used to help me carry laundry baskets when his father worked nights. "I think we're going to be okay," he said. The week after that, the Ohio AG office sent an email labeled "Follow-up." It said that Helping Smiles Foundation had been asked to cease solicitations in Ohio pending proof of registration with the charitable law section. It said that donors would be notified of their refund rights.
It didn't say the word fraud. It didn't have to. The flow of money stopped like a faucet turned off. The comments under Brooke's posts turned from hearts and prayer hands to questions, where did my money go? Was this real? She posted, we were targeted by a smear campaign. And then she posted nothing for 3 days, a lifetime in her content calendar.
Tessa, in a moment that would stick in my mind like a burr on a sock, posted an Instagram story from her car, crying without tears, saying, "The problem with being ahead of the curve is that normies try to drag you down." Behind her headrest, I could see the corner of a faux notary stamp, just a glimpse of a black plastic handle. I paused the video, squinted, took a screenshot, zoomed in. The tiny label under the handle said, Dane's Print and Copy. Dane's shop. My neighbor's nephew had done a summer internship there. I texted him, "Does Dane make stamps?" He replied, "Yeah, rubber stamps. But notary stamps are supposed to be controlled." Then he added, "I think he did one for Tessa as a prop for a closing video." I sat back, the feeling of something sliding into place washing over me like that first chord of blessed assurance. I emailed Mr. Tolson at the AG's office with the screenshot and the note, "This may be relevant." He replied with a brief, "Thank you." I imagined a file getting thicker in a downtown office where the elevators smell like toner and coffee, and felt a small, fierce gladness. A week later, a detective from the Stowe Police Department called Tyler. They were following up on a complaint from the AG office. Could Tyler come in to answer a few questions? He went with Miss Kramer. He told them what he knew, which was, finally, a lot. He came home with a copy of his statement and a relieved slump to his shoulders. 3 days after that, Tessa posted an apology video. Her eyelashes were heavy, her voice trembled. "We got ahead of ourselves," she said. "We thought we were helping, but the haters... You know what? No. We own our mistakes. We will do better." The comments did not forgive. The internet loves a confession, but it loves consequences more. I didn't see Brooke's apology until later because she sent it in an email to friends and family with the subject line, "A fresh start." It said, "We have decided to take a break from fundraising. We appreciate your support during this time of growth." It made no mention of Lily. It made no mention of hair. Meanwhile, Lily's hair began to grow. Fine at first, like rabbit fur, soft under my palm when I kissed her goodnight. She took off the cap for good after Max told her she looked like a peach, and she giggled so hard milk came out her nose. She went back to wearing her yellow beret with the little daisy on it. I watched her run, a 6-year-old again, not someone's campaign. At the next hearing, the magistrate extended the temporary order, placing the children with Tyler, citing unrebutted concerns about online solicitations using the child's image and unverified medical claims. He ordered Brooke to attend a parenting class and individual counseling. He forbade her from including the children in any monetized social media content without written consent from Tyler and a court order. He set a review for 60 days out. Brooke left the courtroom with her jaw set. In the hallway, Dane brushed past us and muttered, "You'll be sorry," under his breath to Tyler. A bailiff raised an eyebrow. I watched Dane walk away, my heart steady. You know that feeling when a storm rolls past and the last thunder grumbles far off? That. 2 weeks later, Stowe PD cited Dane for unauthorized manufacture of a notary seal and deceptive practices related to charitable solicitation displays. It wasn't a felony, it wasn't handcuffs, it was a fine, community service, and a lesson written in ink. You don't play official to sell your friends' schemes. Tessa's posts got sparse. The QR stands vanished for good. Don't click away, he'll get what's coming. The day the first donor refunds hit, the church office phone rang off the hook. Mrs. Reeves at Lily's school called to say thank you, quietly, privately, for advocating with grace. The Akron Children's volunteer coordinator called me because she'd heard through Paula that I sewed and would I like to make a few pillowcases for the pediatric wings. I said yes, and Lily helped me pick the fabrics. Unicorns, rockets, dinosaurs who look like they're laughing.
On an evening in late August, we stood in my front yard while the kids blew bubbles that popped on the driveway in little silver flashes. Tyler leaned against the porch rail. He said without preamble, "I filed for separation." My heart stood up straight. "It's not punishment," he added quickly, like he needed to be kind on record. "It's pause. We'll see if she does the work the court asked." He looked at Lily chasing a bubble to the sidewalk and let out a breath that sounded like someone opening a window. I should have protected them sooner. I said, "You're protecting them now, and you're not alone." School started after Labor Day. On the first morning, Lily wore her yellow beret and a backpack with a fox on it. Max wore new sneakers that squeaked in the hallway. We took the classic porch picture, children on the steps, lunchboxes front and center, the hydrangeas behind them like a blue chorus. I put the photo in a cheap frame and set it on my mantle, next to the one from the year Tyler started second grade in a shirt his father insisted was handsome as a billboard. In September, the AG office sent a final letter. It said in that careful language institutions use when the story is hot and the facts are still cooling, that our office has worked with the platform and organizers to issue refunds. A compliance agreement has been reached with respect to future solicitations. It mentioned referral to local law enforcement and monitoring. It didn't mention names. It didn't need to. I put the letter in the binder, then took the binder to my bedroom and slid it onto the top shelf of the closet. Not buried, just not on the dining table anymore. I wish I could tell you that Brooke had a road to Damascus moment, shut down her social media, and went back to a regular job. The truth that sits between the fancy words is simpler. She's human, and humans are complicated. She took the parenting class. She went to 3 counseling sessions and then complained therapist didn't get branding. She posted vague things about narcissistic elders and moving in silence. She showed up for supervised visits with snacks Lily is allergic to because they get clicks. She cried in her mother's driveway and then took a picture of herself crying. People are what they practice being. We practiced steadiness. Tuesday nights, choir rehearsal. Wednesdays, Max's soccer practice, where I bring orange slices. Saturdays, quilting circle. Sundays, church, where the kids put coins in the plate and learn to hum before they can sing. On Thursdays, we put the trash out by the curb, and Max insists on wheeling both bins, even when they're heavy. I make spaghetti and bread with butter I whip with a little garlic powder the way my sister taught me in 1978. We buy a whiteboard and write the week's plan on it. Nana, choir. Dad, late shift at the tire shop. Max, spelling test. Lily, library day. Small things that make a life. When the 60-day review came, the magistrate asked the standard questions. He had the reports from SCCS. He had a letter from Lily's pediatrician, real letterhead, no notary, stating there was no medical diagnosis requiring shaved hair or chemo. He had a letter from Akron Children's Hospital's social worker noting no record of a visit under Lily's name. He had the compliance agreement from the AG office. He had the screenshot of Dane's stamp. He looked at Brooke and said, "Ma'am, the internet will not raise your children. Do you understand?" She nodded, eyes wet. He kept the temporary order in place and asked for another review in 6 months. We walked out into the corridor. Tyler squeezed my hand. Lily asked if we could get ice cream. We did. We went to Strickland's and got cones dipped in chocolate that hardened to a shell. Max bit his too hard and a chunk fell off onto the napkin. Lily offered him some of hers and he said no, and then he said yes, and then they both laughed. That laugh is why you hold a line. Not to win, to keep that sound unbroken. One evening in late September, my quilting circle brought over a stack of pillowcases for Akron Children's. We sewed our initials into the hems in tiny stitches. PJ for Paula, G for Gladys, and MH for me. Lily held the finished stack like a loaf of warm bread and asked if we could read one last story before bed. We did. The one about the girl who saved seeds every year and planted them when the season turned. How her neighbors didn't understand at first and then thanked her when spring came. Lily fell asleep before the last page. I went into the kitchen, washed 2 plates, and laid out the church programs I'd tucked in my purse that morning. The choir anthem next week was "Great is Thy Faithfulness." I hummed it under my breath, put out 2 bowls and spoons for morning cereal, and checked that the back door was locked. The house hummed. The nightlight glowed. This is not a story about a villain getting carted away. It's a story about a woman my age who saw something off at a family celebration and refused to be shamed into silence. It's about the quiet people, the Mrs. Reeveses and Paulas and Gladyses and Mr. Tolsons who hold the net when something falls. It's about a little girl whose hair grew back and whose laugh never left, not even on the worst days. To the women who watch from couches in Ohio and kitchens in Kansas and porches in Florida, who keep their tins of receipts and their stacks of church bulletins and their cast iron skillets seasoned and ready, trust what your bones know. Keep notes. Be kind and be clear. Ask the next right question. You don't have to bang pots. You just have to keep the light on. We got justice without theater. The money went back. The stamps got boxed. The post went dark. The law did what it could. The rest was ours to tend. The daily bread of bedtime and school notes and soccer cleats that won't tie themselves. And if you need a coda, here it is. Last week, Lily ran her hand through her hair while we planted tulip bulbs along the fence. And she said, "Nana, I like my hair better long." I said, "Me too, bug." She asked if we could cut it someday to donate to kids who need wigs. "When you decide," I said. "When your heart says it's time." She nodded like that was the best rule she'd ever heard. This is my personal experience, shared for awareness and for the other grandmothers who, like me, keep watch.
So, another story of my grandmother has ended, and be clicking here, you will have when more such stories.